So we're doing an update on the race plates. Now we've got the idler arm mount reinforced. We've got the steering box mount reinforced. And you can see how we've seam welded absolutely everything. And that's what's giving us a rigidity for better control on the track.
Johnny's preparing the bottom of this car for texture. The texture that we like to use is actually a Teflon-based product. And the reason we like to use it is because it keeps the things fairly clean and easy to take care of. In other words, as dirt and grime build up on the bottom of the car, it's easy enough just to wash it off because all the Teflon's in it. The other thing is we prefer to use something other than black, especially on race cars, because if I have a red textured bottom or light blues, whites, what have you, the engine's starting to lose oil or something, it's easily to see on that textured surface. Whereas if that was a black surface, you may not even know that you're losing fluids. Okay, so it's a dual purpose value. But anyway, so that's what he's doing right now. He's getting the texture ready. We've already had a plethora of people ask questions about the steering box reinforcements. Yes, these are absolutely essential on step nose cars. The early series cars, this inner walling on this side is just single 20 gauge steel. That's all it is, and they're just right angle plates in between the two bonding it together. It's not a very strong product at all. So that's why we reinforce them, because if you ever had a steering box that's cracked or an idler arm that has snapped, it's not the massive wheels you have on your car most likely as it is that these inner walls flex and create a binding up and breaks those items for you. So yes, the wheels and tires that you use have an awful lot to do with it, but the biggest reason why this thing's cracked are because of the steering box wall or the idler arm wall is flexing. Okay, so you may have a problem, you not even know it yet. So that's why we run these. This is, in this case, this is 14 gauge hot rolled steel on each side. The plug holes that Johnny's already told you about before is so we can gather more surface to stiffen. Okay, that's the whole point of the holes that we punch out all over the place. My car is destined for the track. This is an absolute must. So yes, they're absolutely important. And the other comments we're getting about the jack points, they're not nearly as heavy as you think, but they're dual purpose as well. If you notice, they're cut out. The reason they're cut out is to give us an opportunity to tie down the car somewhere other than the rear axle straps, which oftentimes are very difficult to get to when you're putting the car on a trailer. The other point of why those are there is because now when you reinforce the center location points on this, now you're going to be able to jack the car up in one spot only and change out the tires on each side fairly easy. It's not adding a whole lot of weight to the car. Anything to add?
Maybe an ounce of weight, a couple ounces, if that. I mean,
about 6 ounces. Anyway, you got anything else to add?
No. I mean, right now we're using a nylon cut brush to scuff up the entire surface of the underside of the car. This is an epoxy to protect the metal, and so we're not trying to sand the metal off as much as we are just trying to give it a scratch, so there's a mechanical linkage between the texture product and the product that's already on here.
Okay, so what's going on here is this is a steering box that we're preparing to have a serious reinforcement done to it. These steering boxes are somewhat notorious for cracking. And so what we're doing here is we're welding up all the cracks, but then our machinist is actually going to incorporate this heavy banding of aluminum, like a reinforcement casing, over it. So it'll be just that much stronger as a steering box. This is somewhat problematic in the race cars. We got this out of a car that we're building right now for racing, but that car also started out life as a race car. So this thing, it's got stress cracks all over the place. And obviously if it becomes a little too labor intensive, we're going to bail on it and we will just get another box. But in this case, all we're doing now is we're baking it in the oven a couple times at 300 degrees, using an aluminum cleaner, because what we're trying to do is we're trying to get the oils to secrete out of the aluminum and come to the surface. That way when we go to weld it, it's contamination free. So it's immensely hot, it's got aluminum cleaner on right now. This is the last time I'll bake it. And at that point it should be done. It should be worthy of welding up. We'll show you what it looks like when it comes back from the machinist. Because what he's going to do, he's going to just put large sections of aluminum over where the weakest points are in the steering box. And that's that.
So we're doing some modifications on our customer's car. Now what we're doing is we cut the driver's side fender and we're actually moving it forward, this wheel arch, forward 25 millimeters, which is approximately 1 inch. We like to measure in metric, particularly in millimeters, because it's very accurate. So as you can see here, what I did, I cut the fender, and you can see how I cut it in very straight lines. The reason why I did that is because I can weld better. The weld looks cleaner, as you can see here, it looks nice and straight. And what I'm doing is I'm overlapping the fender arch that I moved forward onto the top part of the fender. The reason why I'm doing that is because when you do a lap weld, it's much stronger and the metal warps less. So as you can see, where I cut the section out was where this panel flattens out, because there's this deep, nice dished out arch and we don't want to ruin that. I would much rather weld somewhere where the panel's flat. So as you can see here, I've got part of this welded in. I'm just welding small sections at a time. Again, what we'll do is we'll tack weld this entire thing everywhere and cool it down with air, and then we'll go in and fill in each of these between these tacks with weld. So you can see here, we fabbed up a filler piece, 25 millimeters. What that does is it keeps the wheel arch consistent all the way down. Now the customer's going to be running an aftermarket suspension which has extra caster in it, so he wanted to make sure that the wheels were going to clear for him. It's kind of a tricky process, but if, again, you take your time, the welds will come out looking clean and the metal won't be distorted too bad. Okay, so we're getting ready to do the next step on our project. Now I'm reading the customer's email right here. He has specific instructions for what he wants done to his car. Now what we're going to do is we're going to do a GTA heart conversion in the front, which means the GTV heart, the original GTV grill, actually comes up above right here, and there are holes cut out in the valence. Now we've already replaced that front valence bumper for him. What we need to do is we need to shave off those holes. That way the super heart, this is actually just a super heart that's trimmed down, so we'll be able to fit up that heart up here, and then we're going to cut these holes out for better cooling capacity for the oil cooler that sits down here, and obviously the radiator. So just watch as we do that. First off, we need to clean off some of this paint right here. This is actually E-coat. We need to clean off the surface so that I have good penetration as I'm welding, and the electrode makes good contact with metal. Alright, now that I've got my metal pieces trimmed up, I've taken it to the brake, and it's kind of difficult to see. I'll get closer. You can see the brakes here running across. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 brakes here, and they're very light brakes. It's just enough to match the contour of this valence. like so. We're gonna tack these pieces up into place and then hammer weld them. Alright, so we've got our pilot holes drilled here for our cutouts in the front valence bumper. As you can see here, I've got this template drawn from the red car that I showed you previously. Now the vent holes on that car are perfect. So we use that car as a standard for everything else. I've drawn out this perfect template from that car, and I've measured in metric again the perfect distance that we need. Now what we're doing is we're measuring from this top edge to the bottom, and that's where I measured to drill my pilot holes. The reason why you want to do that is because the top of this valence bumper here is curved, it's not straight. So if you were to try to measure this and make sure that it was straight with the rest of the body, you'd actually get these cutouts wrong, and even if they're off by a millimeter, your eye's gonna catch that. They're either gonna be like this or like this, and you don't want that. So what we're doing is we're gonna make sure that they run parallel to the top of this valence bumper. Now after we're done, I've got the 1/8 inch pilot holes. We're gonna take a 2 1/4 inch hole saw and we're gonna drill 2 holes here. Once that's done, we'll run a tape line on the top from the top center of each hole, and we'll plasma cut that out. After we plasma cut it, we'll take a file and we'll file it down to make sure that we get all the excess metal from the plasma, because the plasma tends to kind of melt the metal away, and with that file we're going to be able to smooth that out really nicely.